Trade. Welcome to the 5th Annual Brampton Board of Trade's InspiHER. We're so looking forward to a wonderful evening of celebrating the achievements of local women in our community. Women that are breaking glass ceilings, shaking outdated gender stereotypes, and making equality happen here in Brampton and beyond. We're so excited to celebrate tonight. And as is tradition with the Brampton Board of Trade, we like to acknowledge those that have come before us. And hopefully you can join me in this celebration and joining me in acknowledging the land on which we gather and our commitment to foster renewed relationships built on the foundation of mutual understanding and respect. The Brampton Board of Trade, as you know, operates in the city of Brampton within the region of Peel. This region is part of the treaty lands of the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, and for thousands of years, Indigenous peoples have inhabited and cared for this land and other regions all along the Innovation Corridor. Specifically, we acknowledge both the territory of the Anishinaabe, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Ojibwe Chippewa peoples, and the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are grateful to have this opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants. You know, as participants in today's event, we are coming together as one. We believe everyone is free to be their true self and to receive the same respect and opportunities regardless of age, ethnicity, gender, culture, identity, sexual orientation, beliefs, or language. And I know that for many of us, we have the citizens and the people of Ukraine on our mind, and we pray for their safety, and we pray for the end to this conflict, and we hope that you will join us in fostering a positive environment here to ensure a safe and welcoming space for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful evening in store tonight. Before we get too far in, let me take a moment to point out some of the highlights of our platform that we're using this evening on the left of your screen. Hopefully you've already noticed it and taken advantage of the one-on-one networking and the expo areas. You'll have some great information about our sponsors and about the Brampton Board of Trade, ways it can help businesses succeed in some really challenging circumstances. On the right-hand side of your screen, of course, is the chat. Please feel free to use it. Say hello to friends. We've got an opportunity for you to ask questions there for chatting. Additionally, if you need any help at all, or you are welcome to ask questions to any of our Brampton Board of Trade staff that are here today: Jennifer, Operman, Christy, and Justina. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the good fortune now of introducing your host of ceremonies tonight, our Brampton Board of Trade Chair, Donna Fagon-Pascal. Let me tell you a little bit about Donna. She's an amazing woman, 20 years of experience in human resources, serving for the last 17 years as a senior HR executive for several Fortune 500 companies. As chair of the Brampton Board of Trade, she leads a dynamic association of city builders, entrepreneurs, professionals representing the manufacturing, logistics, tech, healthcare, food processing sectors, and 75% of the board's membership are small businesses that contribute to Brampton's vibrant restaurants, unique shopping experiences, and reliable business services. In addition to her role with the Brampton Board of Trade, Donna leads the human resources, communication, and PR functions at Dynacare, where she serves as vice president. How does she do it all? Oh, wow. Dynacare, as you know, is a leading Canadian health and wellness solution provider with its headquarters right here in Brampton. Donna leads a team of 35 professionals and is responsible for overseeing organizational effectiveness, diversity and inclusion initiatives, communications, public relations, community giving, learning and development, talent management, talent acquisition, wellness, health, and safety. Wow. And she chairs the Brampton Board of Trade. She's a wonderful lady, ladies and gentlemen. She has so many professional certifications, graduate of Western, Toronto Watman's School of Business as well, University of Windsor. She holds her Certified Human Resources Leader designation, and suffice it to say, she's a people person, she's a leader, she's a friend. Donna, thank you for your contributions, and join me in welcoming Donna Fagon-Pascal.
Thank you, Todd. I will pay you later for that introduction. That was amazing. Now that the business is out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. InspiHER is an event that started 5 years ago with a conversation about what's missing from local International Women's Day celebrations. It was determined that Brampton needed an event that focused on celebrating local business women, bringing Brampton's businesswomen together and inspiring each other through the Brampton Board of Trade. And InspiHER was born, an evening to come together and celebrate each other. For 2022, we've chosen the theme, Break the Bias. Imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Please take a moment to share your Break the Bias stories or ways you can think we can break the bias in our community in the chat. International Women's Day is not a country, group, nor organization specific. No one government, NGO, charity, corporation, academic institution, women's network, or media hub is solely responsible for International Women's Day. The day belongs to all groups collectively everywhere. Gloria Steinman, world-renowned feminist, journalist, and activist once explained, the story of a woman's struggle for equality belongs to no single feminist, nor to any one organization, but to the collective efforts of all who care about human rights. So make International Women's Day your day and do what you can to truly make a positive difference for women. Throughout the evening, you will have the opportunity to hear from my fellow women who are making waves in our community. We hope you've had an opportunity to check out our session rooms. One of them is hosted by Pink Attitude. I just love the name, who is presenting their study on South Asian women in the Canadian workforce, the challenges and opportunities. They will be joining Connect Work on March 9th to go into more details of their study. And we'll also be joined by myself, Councillor Santos, and Usha Sirvansan from Ryerson Venture Zone for a panel discussion. Also this evening, we are going to honor this special member of our community, someone near and dear to my heart, Naseem Samani, with the Nasim Samani Memorial Award for Leadership Excellence. And this award will be given to Dr. Janet Morrison, President and Vice-Chancellor of Sheridan. So stay tuned for a rewarding evening. I also want to recognize a number of businesses here this evening who have supported this event, and in doing so have supported women leaders in Brampton. Our gold sponsor, Sheridan College, platinum sponsor, Maple Lodge Farms, and presenting sponsor, DynaCare. Thank you to Maple Lodge Farms and DynaCare, who have not only supported Connect Works as a sponsor throughout the year, but also demonstrates a commitment to women in leadership through their support of tonight's event. We have a special guest tonight, and I would like to introduce to the main stage, Mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown.
Well, thank you, Donna, for having me with all of you at the board. I love his energy for that introduction. I know this is a particularly important annual event leading up to International Women's Day. I just want to say how beautiful it is that the Board of Trade has created this event, this annual event honoring Nasim Samani's legacy. And I wanted to share on behalf of the city of Brampton how appropriate it is that you have selected Janet Morrison as this year's recipient. Janet has been a fierce and passionate advocate for Sheridan, the Sheridan family, the educators, the students, and she continues to embark on exciting new initiatives that benefit the city, from nursing to linking education to employment. I have to say, Janet's voice has been particularly important on an issue that I care a lot about, and that is combating Bill 21. And she has been the first leader of a college to speak up against that discrimination. And I am grateful for the allyship that she has provided all those in Canada who face discrimination. And I think we are in a particularly important position in Brampton because we are proud of our mosaic. We live it, we enjoy it, we celebrate it, and it certainly gives us an opportunity to speak about why discrimination is never important. And Janet has always been an ally on that front. And so I just want to congratulate you on receiving this award. And I want to thank Donna for her leadership of the Board of Trade. Donna is a force of nature, and we're grateful to have leaders like her in our community. And lastly, I want to thank my friend Kamal Khera for being the guest speaker tonight. She's certainly a role model in our community. And I believe Councillor Santos is attending this function tonight too. So grateful to have her participation. Brampton is very fortunate to have incredible women leaders in our community. And so tonight we all join in celebrating a wonderful role model in Janet Morrison. And on behalf of the city of Brampton, I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Brown, for joining us this evening. I would now like to introduce the President and CEO of DynaCare, Vito Ciceretto, my boss. In 2009, Vito joined DynaCare as Vice President, Laboratory Operations and Customer Service, bringing with him an extensive experience in general management, finance, and operations. He was later named Vice President Operations in 2012 and appointed as CEO in April 2019. And though the former DynaCare CEO, Nasim Samani, who had sadly passed away in March 2019, left incredibly big shoes to fill, Vito has simultaneously honored her lasting legacy while forging his own path forward for the company. And through the pandemic although the pandemic presented a number of challenges to the organization, Vito forged ahead with initiatives such as DynaCare for Diabetes, wellness initiatives in Manitoba, and continued to show a commitment and investment in the community, resulting in over 40,000, for example, Manitobans being tested for A1C blood sugar. In November, Vito was announced that DynaCare will bring this important initiative to Brampton community. And in the spring of 2021, despite the pandemic, we were able to Vito was able, with his leadership, address this important public health issue for the city of Brampton. Throughout his entire career, Vito has stood as an inspiring example of what it means to be a leader in business. And through his compassion, commitment, and drive, he has demonstrated that in all that he does. And he's made an immeasurable positive impact through the Brampton community, the healthcare system. DynaCare employees and communities across Canada have worked with, have seen the benefit of Vito's amazing leadership. For those reasons, he was actually named the 2021 Brampton Board of Trade Business Person of the Year. Welcome, Vito.
Thank you, Donna, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us virtually. I'm very pleased to be here with you this evening, again, representing DynaCare at the Brampton Board of Trade InspiHER event. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Donna Fagon-Pascal, not only for her strategic leadership and genuine compassion at DynaCare, but also for representing more than 1,000 businesses that make up the Brampton Board of Trade. Thank you, Donna, for your ongoing leadership. International Women's Day allows us to pause. It allows us to reflect on the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women.
This important day also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality around the world. In Canada, women comprise 82% of all healthcare workers. At Dynacare, women comprise 73% of our total workforce. They represent 30% of our vice presidents and 41% of our directors. While I think we can and we should celebrate the progress that has been made over the years, it is clear there's still more work to be done to reach gender equity within our organization, within the healthcare system, and our society. At Dynacare, we are committed to narrowing these gaps. And in this spirit, we recently established an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council to help us accelerate gender equality across our organization. As allies, it's important that we work with women to ensure their voice and vision are driving the future of gender equity. But I am confident and I am optimistic that together we can break this bias. Tonight, we celebrate the contributions of the many women business owners, leaders, and representatives who make up the Brampton Board of Trade, including presenting the Nasim Samani Award for Leadership Excellence. This should be a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vito, and thank you to Dynacare for your sponsorship of tonight's event. Speaking of Dynacare's support of strong, impactful women, I'm excited to introduce the next portion of our evening. In 2019, we lost an important member of our business community, a giant in corporate Canada. Nasim Samani, former CEO of Dynacare, was an outstanding business leader who was known both for her competitive and collaborative spirit. In growing her business, she demonstrated that working with businesses, we can grow our community, our province, our nation, and beyond. In recognition of her outstanding leadership, the Brampton Board of Trade has established a Special Excellence Award in Nasim Samani's honor, the Nasim Samani Memorial Leadership Excellence Award. The award recognizes Nasim's profound impact on the lives of many, particularly women business leaders, and I have to say, I am one of them. The Nasim Samani Memorial Award for Leadership Excellence is designed to recognize, inspire, develop, and encourage women's personal and professional leadership. It's exactly these traits, among other virtues, that Nasim Samani was known for which she left a lasting legacy. Beginning in 2020, the award was being presented to deserving women that just demonstrates innovation, service, and overall contribution to women. I'd like to bring Vito back to the stage to present this year's award.
Thank you, Donna. It's great to be back. Tonight, we are happy to present this award to Dr. Janet Morrison, President and Vice-Chancellor at Sheridan College, as the 2022 recipient, and it is a well-deserved honor. In 2019, Brampton lost an important member of our business community and a giant in corporate Canada. Nasim Samani, former CEO of Dynacare, was an outstanding business leader who was known both for her competitive and her collaborative spirit. In growing her business, she demonstrated that working with other businesses, we can grow our community, our province, our nation, and beyond. In recognition of her outstanding leadership, the Brampton Board of Trade established a Special Excellence Award in Nasim Samani's honor. The award is designed to recognize, inspire, develop, and encourage women's personal and professional leadership. Dr. Morrison is a well-deserving recipient of this award. In addition to a lengthy and distinguished CV, she is a much admired and inspirational leader. She has an uncanny ability to be both at once a preeminent optimist and an incontestable realist. She is firmly rooted in both the theoretical principles and the on-the-ground practicalities of any given subject. She has a welcoming spirit that quickly makes people feel they are a critical member of the team. That spirit permeates throughout Sheridan, contributing to a culture of kindness, compassion, and commitment to delivering the highest quality experience possible. She is a consummate volunteer, including work on numerous boards, as well as acting as a trusted advisor and mentor to students. Dr. Morrison is one of a minority of female post-secondary presidents in Canada. She is proud of the significant number of women in senior leadership positions throughout the organization, including in its trades and technology programs. Dr. Morrison is regularly called upon to speak and present on various topics, including fostering student success, mental health and wellness, and leading transformational change in the face of a rapidly changing economy. Led by Dr. Morrison's steadfast belief in life-changing power of post-secondary education, Sheridan is a leading post-secondary institution in Ontario and an important economic driver in Brampton. Sheridan educates about 43,000 full-time and part-time students every year, attracting students from across Canada and more than 110 countries. It's a trailblazer in unique arts, technology, and healthcare programs, and has always been on the leading edge of innovation, ensuring students learn job-ready, practical skills and develop the confidence, empathy, and problem-solving savvy that allows them to push boundaries in an ever-changing world. I am pleased to present this award to Dr. Morrison tonight in recognition of the work that you have done and are continuing to do in our community. Thank you for your dedication to women's leadership. We will now play a short video amplifying the greatness of Dr. Janet Morrison.
I'm Carol Altilia, Sheridan College's Provost and Vice President Academic, and I've had the pleasure and the privilege of working with Janet for many years. Janet, you inspire by leading with passion and integrity every day. You lift up the women around you, encouraging us to shine. And by doing so, you demonstrate how important it is for us to do the same for others. Congratulations on this wonderful acknowledgement of the impact of your leadership.
My name is Parman, and I'm the academic advisor for the BBA programs at Sheridan College. I first met Janet when I was a student myself at Sheridan College in the BBA Supply Chain Management program. I was a part-time student employee during my studies, and I was asked to give her a tour when she first arrived at Sheridan as our provost at the time. And at the time, I was just blown away by her willingness to learn about my experiences and to learn about the Sheridan community and to really understand what the needs of the community are. To me, that really showed her willingness to lead with humility and compassion. And it was really inspiring to see that from a leader of that position. Over the years, we've gotten to know each other really well. And she provided me with some great guidance and mentorship, which ultimately led me to pursue a career in higher education. She helped open doors for me to make that happen. She also provided a lot of guidance in terms of education, further education to pursue, as well as what steps I need to take to solidify my career going forward. So congratulations, Janet. You are more than deserving of this award. And I'm so grateful for your leadership and your mentorship and guidance. And thank you for everything.
Hello there. My name is Vanessa Wright. I am an international student from Jamaica. I met Miss Janet through the Leadership Bridge program. And I'm sitting at my window looking at the sun. And when I saw the sun, guess who came to mind? Miss Janet. She reminds me of the sun, given that the sun basically, bring light to a lot of stuff. Without the sun, the plants can't, produce food. Without the sun, we can't get the vitamin that we need. So the sun do have a what should I say? A important role in production of everything. So when I saw the sun, Miss Janet really came to mind, because not only is the sun, not only does the sun illuminate the earth, but it provide life to a lot of stuff. So yes, Miss Janet, I want to congratulate you once more, because you are truly an impact to not only my life, but I bet other person's life that you have encountered. And once again, congratulations.
Hello, I'm Michelle McCollum. I'm an Associate Vice President at Sheridan. I first met Janet when I was with a previous employer, and then as I was transitioning into the Sheridan team. And I remember thinking, wow, what an incredible person. Her knowledge, her drive, her ability to get to the heart of an issue and really talk about what matters and get to what matters is second to none. And then having this opportunity to work with Janet more closely over the last few years under her leadership, she is so inspirational and a highly impactful leader, done so much for post-secondary education, for students, for other leaders, making post-secondary more inclusive spaces, increasing access to education, and really grounding her work in equity, diversity, and inclusion. I'm hugely proud to call Janet a friend. This recognition this evening is so well deserved. A huge congratulations, Janet. I can't wait to see what you're going to continue to do in your career.
Wow. And I'm not sure how I'm supposed to respond after that. I'm just so immensely grateful. So first and foremost, I want to thank the Brampton Board of Trade for this tremendous honor. I mean, Todd, you and your team have been incredibly supportive since the day I joined the business community in Brampton almost 5 years ago. I also want to thank Mayor Brown for his kind words, and my Brampton leadership colleagues, Donna and Vito, for their support. So thank you so much. You know, I'm particularly humbled and proud to accept this award tonight with members of Naseem's family online to share in this celebration of her life and her legacy. I didn't know her, but I'm tremendously inspired by the number of references I found online about her humility, her compassion, and her values-driven leadership. These are things that I admire and work to emulate. I was particularly impressed by the reference to her service as a mentor and role model to, quote, thousands of emerging leaders within and beyond Dynacare. So several years ago, I had the opportunity to hear Nagan Sinclair speak. And Dr. Sinclair is an Indigenous scholar and a community activist who works at the University of Manitoba. You often see him on CBC these days. I recall with great clarity him asking me and others what kind of ancestor we wanted to be to the 7 generations that would follow in our footsteps. I can't imagine how much Nasim is missed by those of you who knew and loved her, but I hope the significance and the scope of her lasting impact is comforting and fills you with tremendous pride. She was clearly a good ancestor. I think a lot about this, and Holiday Phillips, an activist who writes about love and justice and belonging, commented on the qualities of a good ancestor. So what she said is that they remember that they are a link in the great chain, not the chain itself. Essentially, that's really about the beauty in sacrificing personal reward for long-term progress. She noted that good ancestors treat their elders and their youngers with respect. And every day I see the beauty and the passion, the resolve and the idealism in youth. The narrative of young people as too entitled, too naive, too idealistic is simply false, and it's unfair. I also continue to learn from those who've walked before me. Good ancestors speak of love, never war. And I'm not sure that that's ever been more apropos. War never ends violence, and more hate never ends pain. And finally, good ancestors are stewards of the future. Phillips argues that they see their role as stewards not only of their own beautiful life, but of a more beautiful and just world. She concludes by challenging everyone to wake up every morning and think, What can I do today to make the future better? So I have a pretty good sense that Naseem was the type of leader for whom these attributes were innate. I aspire to walk in her shadow, and I hope the recognition that you're bestowing on me tonight is a signal that I'm walking a good path, both personally and professionally. At my core, I am an educator, and I've been sustained on my professional journey by an unwavering belief in the transformative power of post-secondary education. My work and the work of my amazing colleagues at and beyond Sheridan, so many of whom have taken the time to be here tonight, is really grounded in the beauty of long-term personal, social, economic progress, the value of respect and respectful discourse, and the germination of a more beautiful, just world. I love my job, and I consider it an immense privilege to lead within the post-secondary system in Canada, because in part, I know every day that what I do matters. You couldn't help but listen to those amazing students tonight and question that what we do at Sheridan matters. My colleagues and I are in the business of cultivating, harnessing, optimizing human potential. Like, isn't that awesome? I am particularly honored to lead at Sheridan, a learning community distinguished by its diversity and its character, our celebrated commitment to excellence, and a deep sense of accountability. We really pride ourselves on being relevant and responsive, student-centric, and forward focus. It's been such a pleasure to be at that institution as a member of that learning community. Every day, I am inspired by our students and by my colleagues. I owe a particular debt of gratitude to our College Executive Council, whose leadership has truly sustained me over the last 24 months, which, as you can imagine, have posed challenges. Before I conclude, I want to say how proud I am to be a female leader in the city of Brampton. Anyone with insider knowledge will affirm that my parents, Margaret and David, expected no less from me. They were widely regarded by all of our friends and the many foster kids who lived in our home as the best parents ever. But they were tough, and they demanded that my 3 younger brothers and I do 3 things: work hard, do the right thing, and give back. Honesty and self-reflection were non-negotiable in our house. To that point, I want to acknowledge that I've been the beneficiary of tremendous unearned privilege. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this honor, but I'm acutely conscious that my path was cleared by advantage that was a function of my identity. I am committed to working in solidarity with those who don't share those certain privileges by challenging the systems that cause oppression and suppression of individuals or groups. Social consciousness is something we talk a lot about in my home. My most important role, and some days my toughest job, is as mom to Bennett and Olive, 2 smart, funny, exceptional, just beautiful human beings who challenge me every day to be better. They're amazing, and I often marvel at the sophistication of their thought processes and views on the world. I'm just so proud to be their mom. Finally, I want to thank my favorite person in the whole world, my partner, Ken. It'll date me and cause some of you, including my children, to cringe, but in a shout out to the divine Miss M, he really, truly is the wind beneath my wings. Thank you all again for this truly lovely recognition and that stunning, impactful video. Drawing on Naseem's example and propelled by the shared sense of purpose that makes Sheridan such an exceptional learning community, your kind words have made me even more determined to be a good ancestor. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. And as a woman raising daughters, it's so exciting to hear about the work that's happening to continually break down barriers and create opportunities for women of all ages. Thank you for sharing such a wonderful, wonderful example of how you lead and have impact on our Brampton community. We will now be moving into our keynote portion of this evening's event festivities. I am pleased to introduce the Honourable Kamal Khera, Minister of Seniors, as our keynote speaker this evening, with one caveat. Unfortunately, there was a an emergency call for her to attend a meeting at Parliament, and which has resulted in her doing a video. So we thank Honourable Kamal Khera for taking the time to make this video, and she has pre-recorded her remarks. So I really look forward to hearing her video and hearing what she has to share with us today. Before we start the video, I'd like to give her just a brief introduction about her background. After graduating from her studies in nursing and psychology at York University, Ms. Khera started working as a nurse in an oncology unit at St. Joseph Hospital. Ms. Khera was first elected in 2015, becoming the youngest member of Parliament to be elected that year. Incredible. Since 2015, she's served as a parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Health and Minister of National Revenue and Minister of International Development. After being re-elected a third time in 2021, the Honourable Kamal Khera was appointed to the Cabinet to serve as Canada's Minister for Seniors, which is ironic considering she's currently the youngest serving member of Cabinet. We'll go ahead and play the video. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good evening to you all. I'm Kamal Khera, proud Member of Parliament for the beautiful riding of Brampton West and Canada's Minister of Seniors. I want to begin by acknowledging that I'm joining you virtually today from Ottawa, which is the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. I want to thank the Brampton Board of Trade for inviting me tonight. It fills me with so much hope and pride to know that such an inspiring, fierce group of women leaders are present in our Brampton community. The theme for tonight's celebration is Break the Bias, and I could not think of more appropriate theme for such a resilient group of women who smash barriers each and every day. I want to take this opportunity to share with you a little bit about my story. The question I often get asked is, what made you run for office? Now, for context, when I was first elected in 2015, I was the youngest member of Parliament elected in our caucus, just 26 years old. But that simple answer to the question is that I saw there was an enormous amount of work that needed to get done in our community. In my first election in 2015, there were a lot of issues at stake for Brampton West, like making life more affordable for families, improving transit, and tackling climate crisis. I've always been there, a firm believer in getting back to the community, and I knew that there was a lot of changes that could be made which could allow for so much positive growth and development in Brampton. However, being not just a woman, but a proud South Asian woman, and to be the youngest woman made my experience quite challenging, but also brought in some unique opportunities. When Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced the first ever gendered balanced cabinet, it wasn't just the right thing to do. It was a smart thing to do. We've seen the impact on that at the cabinet table, in our caucus, in our policies. And under our government, we now have a gender-based analysis on our budget, on our COVID response, on our domestic policy, and our feminist international assistance policy. It matters, and this is how good policy is made. This is why we need more women in leadership to make those decisions and bring unique perspectives to the table. These diverse perspectives has also allowed us to develop programs like the Women's Entrepreneurship Fund and the Black Entrepreneurship Fund, which has given entrepreneurs from diverse communities access to funds that they need to start their new businesses. When I first started in politics, I didn't have that many women that looked like me in those leadership roles, and that's why I think mentorship is so important. And I make it a priority to mentor young women and girls, giving them an opportunity to shadow me, to mentor them. And I truly believe that power of representation and mentorship cannot and should not ever be underestimated. Women are not a minority. They are half of the world's population. Women's representation and the representations of all groups is necessary. But events like this, evenings and days like International Women's Days, are so important, and I think for two reasons in particular. First, these occasions are there to celebrate how far we've come and the progress we've made in the fight for equality. At the same time, they are equally important because they serve as a reminder of the work that remains to be done, knowing that there is such a fantastic, powerful group of women leaders in our community fills me with confidence that we're going to keep moving in the right direction. And finally, for all the women and girls out there, be unapologetic. Take up space, break the bias. There is a seat at the table for you and you belong. In fact, we need you at the table to make progressive policies to keep our country moving forward. So get involved in politics, get involved in businesses, become a volunteer, and never underestimate the power of your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Khera. You truly are an inspiration to all women, and we look forward to see what you will accomplish in the near future. I would like to welcome back to the stage Dr. Janet Morrison. Welcome, Janet.
Well, thanks, Donna.
Well, we thought it would be nice to ask some questions, and I guess you'll be asking some questions of me, and for the audience to get to know the both of us. How does that sound to you?
That sounds awesome. That's great.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
A little less nerve-wracking than the last part of the program, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Well, so I'll ask you the first question. So if I had asked a 10-year-old you what you wanted to be when you grew up, what would she have said? What about the 20-year-old you?
Yeah, so I always laugh when people ask me that question because I don't think any 10-year-old wakes up and goes, oh, you know what, I really like to be a provost or a college or university president. I remember being very young and thinking that I'd really like to cut hair for a living, and so specific kind of career paths. I was all over the map. What I would say and what I try to impart on my, just stunningly smart and sophisticated, thoughtful daughter is that you need to find something that you love. I mean, this was what was modeled for me by my mom. She was deeply invested in her work. She was a leader in child welfare, and her job was very difficult, challenging. My brothers and I knew that. But she cared and was passionate about it. And I think, the modeling that she and my dad did around doing work that you love and that you feel like matters made a tremendous difference in my life, in my brothers' lives. What we also saw was them volunteering in tandem with their work. And so I say to people all the time, volunteering was non-voluntary in the Morrison house. And, it was as Canadian as Northern Lights. It was like, you got to volunteer. And I remember from a very early age, and that helped explore options, but it also really, it crystallizes values. So as you get older, if that's the direction and you've been almost freed to think about it that way, then you can meander and move a little more. And we see that with young people. It's really important to have that kind of concept that you can kind of duck and weave. So can I ask you a question?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. So you always impress me because you're always so well put together and you're so articulate. And even when you called me to give me this awesome news about this award, you were just so polished and put together. And I think I stumbled and was like, is this a joke? Like, are you serious? But what don't you have figured out yet? It doesn't look like it, but there's got to be something that you haven't quite figured out yet. What would that be?
Truth be told, everything. I am a walking, I would say, continuous learner. So I would say my life has been about being agile, being open to change, being open to learn from my mistakes, and being open to self-reflect. But I would say not use self-reflection as a way to kind of minimize myself, but use it as a way to evolve and become a better version of myself. And so my life has just been, I guess, constantly making mistakes and doing better the next time.
But that's such an important skill, like particularly I would argue for female leaders. So like who taught you that? Where did you get that from? That's resilience at its core. And where did you get that?
I would say it's probably my parents. So I grew up on a farm in Jamaica. And so from watching my grandparents kind of really, try to live life in just an incredible, just honest, hardworking, determined, resilient way. My grandmother always shared the story. She said, when my grandma would come up and watch talk shows, and people would come on the talk shows on TV and share their stories about how they had a lot of problems, my grandma would say, "That's not a problem. I had a flood and I didn't have food for 2 weeks. And, and that's a problem, so
Yeah.
she really was the epitome of resilience. And that passed on to my mother in terms of how she kind of just dealt with what life presented. And I just saw the way that she would embrace the challenges and still have a very positive outlook and, evolve and become a better version of herself. And so I was very fortunate to have very strong mentors like my grandma and my mother in my life to teach me.
Good ancestors, Donna. Good
Yes,
ancestors.
exactly. I have good genes.
Nice.
Well, I'd like to ask you another question. How do you play the variety of roles that you do? And how do you make time for your own health and self-care?
Yeah, so, that's a great question. And the honest answer is some days not well. But I feel really strongly, part of my job is to model that behavior for others. And it doesn't, it's not the be all and the end all, and people should use it only as a guide. But one of my very valued, smart, thoughtful colleagues, Leah State, introduced me about a decade ago to this model of 5 ways of well-being. And again, whatever you believe works, go with. But for me, a sense of wellness is really facilitated through connection to other people. I have that personally. I work very hard to maintain it professionally. Giving back, this again is a tenant. It's a family value, something my brothers, my nieces, nephews all live. There's value in that. Taking notice of the world around you. This one's a bit harder for me. I'm not a smell the roses type, but I have to be conscious around taking notice. Continuing to learn is the 4th piece of that. Learning is really hard. For me, it's important in my job because it cultivates empathy about the learning process for learners who I work in service to. But continuing to learn actually feeds wellness. And then probably the kind of central point for me is being active and parsing out time every day to be physically active and outside. And those are really tenets that both my partner and I live by at home and have tried to instill in our kids. So, but it's a challenge, because as parents and busy professionals, you want to do service to everything. And then I think, guilt is real, balance is an illusion. And to your point, a bit of resilience is required every day in, day out.
That's so incredible that you're able to accomplish and manage all of this. How do you balance that? And I think that's something a lot of women struggle with guilt and trying to balance. Some people refer to it as you can't really balance. You have to just have harmony with all the things you have to manage. How do you just kind of juggle all of that?
And again, I'm no expert on this, but I long ago let go of the notion of balance, because I actually think all that does is, it's a recipe for more guilt for me, because that balance, it is more like a balancing act. There is the illusion of balance as opposed to an act where you are continually assessing your priorities. My family always most important. Everybody knows that. That's a value that's held dear across the executive team at Sheridan. But then every day you're weighing and and shifting to accommodate. And it can be exhausting. And I think just affording one license to acknowledge and to be self-reflective about what the challenges are and how important it is to be kind to oneself and demonstrate the kind of kindness that I suspect you demonstrate to others, that I work to demonstrate to others. You know, this is a tough thing, but you know, it's a balancing act worth investing in, for sure.
That's great. Thank you.
So my last question to you, do you have some ideas? I'm so, you know, I admire and respect your leadership on the Board of Trade. I you know, a huge kudos to you and to your predecessors, including my amazing colleague, Michelle. You know, as you meet and network with other businesswomen in the community, are there some tips or tricks? You know, how can the audience, how can each of us support those leaders to succeed and to demonstrate kind of care, concern, and kindness? What have you seen that you've thought was effective? What do you practice as the leader that we all look up to in this space?
It's a really good question. I think early in my career, and I was on the executive track at that time, and I was in desperate need of mentorship. I had the privilege of participating in a development session with a very accomplished leader, Gail Evans. I think at one time she was CEO or president of CNN. And she wrote a book called She Wins, You Win. And that philosophy of really understanding that as women, we have a responsibility to take care of other women and on their journey. And it could be a simple thing as if you see a woman going off the rails, taking her to the side and with kindness and care, sharing insights and perspective, and know that you're there to help. Yeah. It could be as simple as spending time with women, mentoring them, educating them on some of the challenges in the organizations and ways to network or alleviate. You know, oftentimes women have a lot of self-talk. I know I sometimes talk to myself, so much so that my watch responds to me. So I don't know if you have one of those talking. Siri is very nosy, gets into your business, but you know, you do this self-talk, and sometimes the self-talk can be negative. And I think having a woman to, you know, run scenarios by or situations by and giving honest perspective that's not judgmental is very empowering. And helping women connect the dots, and by, you know, pushing them to step into their discomfort, and being uncomfortable and being, you know, putting yourself out there is, you know, pushes, you know, creates a lot of opportunities for growth with women. So I think, you know, that learning for me, that had a very profound effect on me and how I show up as a leader and how I try and support other women. And it's something I really take. I feel it's my responsibility to help other women succeed, because I look at, if they're successful, I'll be successful. Yeah. And even if it doesn't mean I, you know, get any recognition or anything like that, it's just the personal reward far outweighs, you know, the material reward when you take time and do that for women. So it's a great book. I'm sure it's still published, but She Wins, You Win. It's a phenomenal book, and it really sets a stage for women helping women succeed.
Well, I think we all see evidence of that. So that's awesome. You know what, a mentor of mine kind of left two impressions. The first was that courage can be borrowed and shared. So you don't always have to have all the courage you need. You can actually borrow and share it. And I have found with female colleagues that has been very helpful. The other lesson learned is that making room at the table sometimes means pushing back. Yeah. It doesn't mean moving over. It means pushing back. And and I think as I have the privilege to sit in the chair that I do at an organization as embracing and as aspirational as Sheridan, sometimes it's about me pushing back. And so Anyway, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
this whole evening, but for the
Yes.
opportunity here to ask you some questions. So thank you so much, Donna.
Yeah, no, and thank you for sharing. It's just wonderful, you know, to have your participation and joining us today and sharing some of your inspirational words. And I'm hoping this is recorded because I'd love to listen to your remarks again. They were just so beautiful. So thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Donna. Good night.
Congratulations once again, Dr. Morrison. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. With men and women like you, I'm confident that we'll continue to work towards gender equality. What we have achieved now is a network of women that will continue to encourage and inspire each other. And I would say a network of women and righteous brothers who are helping, supporting women, and to break the bias. So between now and March 8th, which is the official International Women's Day, think of ways that you will break the bias and share on social media, tagging at Brampton Bot. I also want to remind you about an upcoming Connect Work on March the 9th at 8:30, where we'll be teaming up with Pink Attitude to present their study on South Asian women in the workforce. Myself, Councillor Santos, Usha Srivansasan will be participating in a panel discussion on this topic. This is how we're going to finish off our main program here this evening. With my gratitude to Minister Kamal Khera, Dr. Janet Morrison, Vito Ciceretto, Todd Letts, thank you, our sponsors, our guests, the team at the Brampton Board of Trade that was behind all of this, and the technical team, Scotia Events. I just want to thank you all for just all your wonderful support and making this day so special and run so smoothly. And to our guests for celebrating International Women's Day together with all of us. Thank you.